Alright guys, welcome back to another YouTube video, and as you can see from the title, today is a rest day, so we're inside. And I want to start a tradition with you guys. Real talks on rest days. I feel like it's a good moment for us to catch up, share what we're struggling with, share what we're going through on this journey to, whatever point it is that we want to get to. And what I want to talk about today is kind of a point that I already started talking about in other videos, is, starting this content journey, starting filming, what I've learned, what problems I'm still going through, and kind of how it's evolved over time. So, as you probably know, if you've been watching my videos for a while, I started doing Instagram reels in my room. And the thing about filming in your room is that it's super easy, it's an easy place to start. You can control everything, you can have your script in front of you, you can have the lights controlled, there's nobody watching you, there's nobody listening to you. So it's a really good place to start. And at first, even though, now looking back, it seems really easy and I can do it really easily now, it was quite hard. And for you guys watching videos on, Instagram, on YouTube, it might seem really easy to just see somebody talk. But once you start trying it yourself, it's actually much harder than it seems. So I recommend that if you want to start getting into content, if you want to start filming, start in your room, practice talking to the camera, because I promise you, it's much harder than it looks. And yeah, I've always wanted to take it to the fitness route, so I started trying to talk more in public, walking in the streets and in the gym. But the gym is where I hit a fucking hard wall. I feel like the gym is one of the hardest places for me to film. There's so much going around. There's music playing in the background, there's people working out, there's weights dropping. Then you start talking, you start putting a camera out, then people start, they start looking at you and they start listening to you. They're taking their AirPods out to see, what you're doing. And for me, that was one of the hardest points. And it's something that I'm getting much better at, but it's still not easy. Sometimes I'll have days where, I just decide to put my camera down and not talk, just because of that anxiety and that anxiety of other people hearing what I'm saying, and kind of the anxiety of fear of getting judged, which is something I like to pretend that I don't care about, but everybody cares about it to some degree. But that's what it takes if you want to make it to the top, right? You got to be comfortable in those environments, because that's what will separate you from the people who don't make it to the top to the people who do. And even though I'm getting no views, I don't have any followers, I still gotta act like I do, right? I still gotta put my all into it. I still gotta talk like my words mean something, and that people are watching me and people are actually listening to the things that I'm saying. If you want to make it to the top, then you've got to develop the habits of the people who are already at the top. So that in this space it includes being comfortable on camera, learning how to storytell well, and all that, which is something that I'm not great at yet, but I am getting there. And on days like this, where I'm not going to the gym, I'm still pulling my camera out because it's part of the journey. I set my goal of wanting to put one video out every single day for the whole summer. So you still got to stick to your words, because if you're not a man of your words, then what kind of man are you? So I'm still putting in the work, still pull out the camera, and here I am, trying to connect with you on a more deeper level than just filming myself in the gym, which I think is super important as well. And yeah, that brings back to why I'm filming this. It's keeping up the consistency, putting in the work, even on days where I don't have anything planned, and I'm not trying to make my life seem all crazy and like I have so much shit to do, because I really don't. Most of the day I'm inside editing videos, working on scripts, doing all that shit that goes behind the scene. So you gotta keep it real sometimes. And building discipline, building that mindset is not just about the gym. Even though the gym is a big part of my life, there is so much more to the gym. There's so much more to life than the gym. And it's super important that you guys also try to build your life outside of the gym. It's one thing having the discipline to go to the gym, but you got to transfer that discipline to other areas of your life. What does it mean if you're able to go to the gym, but then outside of the gym, you have no discipline, you have no self-control? You got to look at your life as a whole, not just different aspects. The gym is one aspect, but you got to be able to transfer what you're doing in the gym outside the gym. And that leads me on to my, second part of what I wanted to talk about in this video is you know, what rest days mean to me and how I handle them, because, you know, sometimes a lot of people can feel guilt on rest days because they're not going to the gym and they're not doing whatever. And that's when having something else that you're working on is super important, because on the rest days where you're not going to the gym, you can still put your energy into something and feel productive. So for me, that's content making. Even though I'm not going to the gym, I'm not putting my energy into that, I can still work on something that I'm passionate about, which is content, and which is what I'm doing right now. And the other part of that is recovery. You know, I usually do 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off, and that's usually my split. And I train pretty fucking hard. So you need a rest day. You need time for your body to recover. Otherwise, it will catch up to you. And trust me, I've been through that, and it's not fun. It will either show up as, you know, mental fatigue, you're getting sick, and you should try to avoid that as much as you can. And you know, one way that I stay productive on my rest days is by setting tasks at the beginning of the day, making sure that I still have goals to hit, that I still, you know, even though I'm not pushing weight, I'm still pushing to hit those goals. So I usually go on Google Tasks and I set all my goals that I want to do for the day. And that way, I can still stay disciplined and still have something to look forward to and something to hit. And for like today, I don't have so much of a structure of what it is I want to talk about, but it's kind of an introduction to, you know, rest day talks. And in the future, I'm going to have like certain topics that I want to talk about and I want to dive deeply into it. But today is kind of, you know, making it up on the go, introducing rest day talks to you guys, and, you know, seeing where we go from there. But in the future, like I said, I'm going to have certain topics. If you guys have any topics that you want me to talk about or that you want to have a conversation about, then let me know in the comment section. But for today, you know, it's kind of an introduction, some things that I'm struggling with, and also where I want this content to go. Like I said in the other video, I want us to build a community, you know, of like-minded individuals, of, you know, where we can have a real talk in and outside of the gym. And the ultimate goal is, you know, right now content making is just a side project, but, you know, I want to take it much further than that, wherever that might get me. But at the moment, I just want this channel, my Instagram and all that, you know, to be a place, a community for people who, you know, like my videos, who can connect to me as a person. And for you guys who are watching at the moment, you know, you guys are seeing the step-by-step progression. You guys are here at the beginning, and hopefully, you know, we can grow together and you guys can see the journey and how we progress from the beginning to, you know, wherever it gets us. But I feel like it's kind of a cool thing. It's like a diary, you know, like a video diary of, you know, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. Thank you for listening, and like always, please like, please comment, please subscribe. Helps a lot, goes a long way. And I'll see you on the next rest day for a rest day talk. Looking forward to it. If you guys have any suggestions of things to talk about, leave them down in the comment. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.